So we started with some math behind sleep, but now we are into 30, 60, 90 triangles. Do you remember the old 30, 60, 90? But wait, I thought this was 1, 2, and the square root of 3. Well, it can't always be in every triangle, right? So they said this is 10. Well, that's 10 times bigger. So they don't all work this way, but if I can figure out how many times bigger it is, I can just times all of these by 10. And that's a super quick way to do this one. This side's 10, this side's 20, see, twice as big as that, and this side's 10 root 3. Now, if it's that simple, yay for you, but it's not likely to be. Sometimes the numbers are much weirder than this. So let me show you the trig way to do this. See, that way you didn't even need any trig. You just needed to know the 30, 60, 90 sides. But here's the trig way to do it, and this is the way it's going to work on your test every time. You need to write a little trig equation for it and solve it. So, I tried to teach you this the other day, that if it says find the missing sides, well, we got to pick one at a time. We just figure out one side at a time. And this side, if you know what you're doing, this side's actually really easy, so we're not going to figure out that side. We're going to figure out this side. And I'm going to put an X there. Actually, I don't like X's because they look like time signs. We're going to put an N there. Everybody, please put an N right there. And then we write a trig equation. We practiced this yesterday. I'm going to use this angle. You could have used the 60 if you wanted to. I'm personally picking the 30. And I'm going to write sine 30, and I'm going to ask myself, is that the right one? Well, sine's opposite. That's good. Over hypotenuse. Crap, I don't have the hypotenuse. That would have been good to find this side. But I don't want that side, so I'm not using sine. Next, change it to cosine. Is cosine the right one for this? Well, that's adjacent over hypotenuse. Crap, it's not cosine either. So then it must be tangent. Tangent of 30 is TOA, opposite over adjacent. And I have stuff for that. I have a 10 over an n. And then take a second and solve for n, please. We practiced it yesterday. You've got to be able to do this. My favorite thing is if you can factor it, you should. And this semester is not as much factoring. But my second favorite thing is clear the fractions. So I'm going to clear these fractions out. That n needs to not be there anymore. You should have times by n on both sides. If you do that much, pretty much everybody will figure out, oh, if I just get rid of this, n is alone. So, all I got to do is divide by tan 30, and you'll be done. And that cancels that, and n is alone. 10 over tangent 30, and yes, that's it. Oh, wait, it's not. It's right, except I know tangent of 30. Don't I? Can I find tangent of 30? Yes, you can. So this has an added little step. You draw your 30, 60, 90 classic triangle, the one that has the sides of 1, 2, square root of 3, and then you figure out tangent of 30 and you put it here. You get what I mean? You can't just leave tangent of 30 in there because you can get tangent of 30. You know that one. Because I made you memorize these sides, tangent of 30 is TOA. It's 10 over, tangent of 30 is opposite from the 30 over adjacent. 1 over root 3, and this is why we wanted you to learn the first 20 first semester. Because if you don't know what to do right there, you're toast. If you left your answer that way, I have to mark it wrong because you haven't finished. That's why those basics are so huge. So you're supposed to know, oh yeah, this is easy. If you know what's going on, you're going to go, oh yeah, just times it by root 3 over 1 because you flip and multiply. Take that, you flip it over, and you multiply here by root 3 over 1. So now it's 10 times root 3 over 1, because I know how to do fractions. And then it's 10 root 3. How many of you think you could have done that? That is literally only 3 kids, really? 4 kids? All right, then we should definitely practice. Go off to the side and make me a triangle. I'll tell you it's a 30, 60, 90. But I'll tell you the sides aren't what you'd expect. This side is going to be a square root of 7. You might be like, there's no square root of 7 in a 30, 60, 90. You're right. But there can be. And I want to know this side called the hypotenuse. I'm going to call it h then. Would you please, just to keep our lives simple, everybody use the 30. You could be writing equations for the 60, but let's just use the 30. And that way yours equation and the kid next to you will come out the same. And you're either going to do sine 30, cosine 30, or tangent of 30, and then you're going to solve it for h. And at the end, you can't leave like sine of 30 in your answer. You got to go make the little 30, 60, 90 classic triangle to solve that little sine, cosine, or tangent of 30. That'll be in your answer. All right, I'm going to pause for a second and give this a try. Remember, you're writing sine, cosine, or tangent of 30. Okay, here's how I would have done it. I would have recognized I had an opposite. I had hypotenuse, so it's sine. Sine of 30 is opposite, root 7, over hypotenuse, h. Next, I would have solved for h. I would have times by h on both sides so that this is gone. Clear the fractions. No more fractions. Now I'm going to divide both sides by sine of 30. And now that gets rid of the sine of 30 on the left side. And now my answer is root 7 over sine of 30. And if you write that on the test, I'll cry a little bit and mark it wrong. Because you know sine of 30. I'm going to highlight it right here. That can tell you the sine of 30. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, and so I can replace this sine of 30 with 1 over 2. So that's divided by 1/2. If you still don't know how to do the fraction thing, you must not have been listening earlier, because if you had divided by 1/2, you could change that to times 2 over 1. And now it's 2 root 7. Who had 2 times root 7? All right. Any questions about that? All right, well, we got plenty of problems like that to practice. So let's go over to this one here, the red one. What's wrong with it? Well, it's a 30, 60, 90 again, and it's got the 1, 2, and the root 3. Wait, I know what's going on. They want me to use this, sorry, not the red one. The red one is just your classic 30, 60, 90, 1, 2, root 3. They want us to use this black one with the blue one. Because the blue one is just your classic 1, 1, root 2 triangle. This black one has got some unknowns in it. So everybody try this. And I don't really have to tell you, solve for this one or solve for that one, because they're the same, right? Let's just make this n. And both ends are the same. Start with trig, sine, cosine, or tangent. At the end, you'll have to convert anything like tangent of 30 that's in your answer. You can't leave that in your answer. I think it helps to know what you're focusing on. I'm going to focus on that angle there. I don't like the ones that are up above. I like the ones that are down below. So then is it sine? No, that would be opposite over hypotenuse. It's cosine, 45. Adjacent, which is n, over hypotenuse, which is 3 root 2. Why can't I just stop there? Because n isn't alone. So I'm going to now times by 3 root 2 on both sides. And now n is alone. Cool. But you can't leave cosine 45 in your answer. There's your classic 45, 45, 90. If I want cosine of 45, I just look there. cosine adjacent over hypotenuse. Cosine of 45 can be replaced with 1 over root 2, adjacent over hypotenuse. So 3 root 2 times 1 over root 2. Oh, this one's working out really nice because look, cancel, cancel, and equals 3. Anybody have 3 before I said it? Okay. All right, good. So that's what today is like. Let's go on to the next page. It's more of the same exact thing. We really got to get good at this. This is one of the harder questions on the test for kids in general. I don't feel like they're that hard, but I've been proven wrong many times. Kids get these wrong. So would you please try, let's do this one, number 2. Start with trig. I mean, you're in a unit called trig. I'm going to pause for just a second. Okay, so I know some of you guys are done and have moved on to your homework, but I'll finish this one problem up for you. I would have used this 45 because I like the ones that are on the ground. It would work the other way, and that will mean I want opposite and hypotenuse. So sine of 45 is 75 over the hypotenuse is x. I'm not even going to figure out the y because look, that and that have to be the same. Like we know that because they're the two sides in a 45 that are the same. So no point, that one's already 75, we know it. Okay, so in solving this then to figure out what the x side is, I end up timesing by x on both sides and dividing by sine 45 on both sides. Final answer, x equals 75 over sine 45. And I say final answer, and that's true, except it needs to be simplified because sine 45 is something I can know. I'm going to just whip out a quick 1 root 2, and that's the 45 right there. So sine of 45 is opposite over hypotenuse, so I can replace this with opposite 1 over hypotenuse, root 2. And now I got 75 over a fraction, and I'm smart enough to know to flip it. Root 2 over 1. Are you smart enough to know that? And then the answer is 75 root 2. Does that make sense to you? You feel okay about that one? All right, good. So number 2 of the homework. I'm sure it's a drawing. Nice copiers. All right, so it's got a 30 up there, which means, of course, the other one's got to be 60. And this is 10. Thank you. So if they want the other two sides, you are totally allowed to do this. Hey, it's a 30, 60, 90. The smallest one and the biggest one, it's a 2-to-1 relationship. That's got to be 20. You can just do that because you're smart enough to know that the one is double the other. So that's it. And then could you just use the this way? Yes, you absolutely could. I know 2 of the sides. You know what I mean? If I know 2 of the sides, I can do 20 squared is 400. And 10 squared is 100. And then this is not the longest side, so I minus them. Square root of 300 is the right answer. Man, that was fast. You know what I did there? I knew 2 of the 3 sides. All right, but what else could I have done? I could have, it's still going to come out square root of 300. It is. And it's going to be way slower, but I'll show you the trig way. You could have done, I want to use the 60 because that's the one on the bottom. I personally just like that one better. So I want this side here, which I'm going to call n. Don't use x because it looks like a time sign. And then it's, what should I use? Well, I like sine. It's opposite over hypotenuse. But 10 is an easier number, so I'm going to use cosine. Cosine is adjacent. Over wait a minute. Oh, that's not the right one. I should be using tangent, server. I didn't know it until I saw it. Tangent. TOA. Opposite over adjacent. N over 10. Sorry about that. There we go. So then, times by 10 on both sides. Clear the fraction. That also is a top 20 thing. Clearing the fractions out. And then tangent of 60 is something you can know, because I can make my classic 30, 60, 90, 1, 2, root 3. Tangent of 60 is this one. Tangent is TOA, opposite over adjacent. Root 3 over 1. So that's 10 root 3. Did somebody get to 10 root 3 before me? Good, then it's probably right. All right. There's a reminder of how to do number 2. Now, you get I assigned you evens to give you a doable size assignment. Does that mean you can't do the odds? No, if you need to practice, that's perfect. That's what the odds could do for you, is give you more practice. Okay, so I encourage you, if you're doing the evens and you're struggle busing, go do some of the odd ones too. The test is coming. And it doesn't care if you did the even or the odds. You just want to be ready for it. Okay. And that's all I have for you for the video for today.